The quiet residential neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio gets dark early in winter. As the first snowflakes began to fall on the well-maintained lawns of Oakwood Heights, Linda Harrison was preparing dinner in the kitchen. The aroma of pot roast filled the entire house. "Benjamin, can you help set the table? Dad might call soon, and I want dinner to be ready," Linda called to her 8-year-old son, who was working on homework spread across the living room floor. Benjamin looked up from his math workbook. His sandy hair falling across his forehead reminded her of Michael. "Is Dad coming home today?" Hope mingled in his voice. Linda let out a small sigh. "He can't come home tonight, honey. Remember? Dad has that big project in Chicago. But he promised to call before you go to bed." As Benjamin reluctantly got up, Linda returned to chopping vegetables, trying to ignore the familiar loneliness. She believed she had built a happy life, a successful career as a freelance graphic designer who could work from home, a beautiful son who excelled in school, and a hard-working husband whose career as an IT consultant had earned them this comfortable 3-bedroom home in one of Columbus's finest residential areas. Michael had always been ambitious. His intelligence and charm had brought him success in his field, but lately his absences had become more frequent. "This big project is setting the stage for our future," he had explained when his extended business trips began 3 months ago. Half the week, sometimes more, the other side of the queen-sized bed remained untouched. While arranging carrots and potatoes around the roast, Linda recalled explaining to Benjamin's teacher at last week's parent-teacher conference why Michael couldn't attend. "My husband travels frequently for work," she said with a practiced smile. The teacher nodded in understanding, but Linda didn't miss the sympathetic look in her eyes. The kitchen timer's chime pulled Linda from her thoughts. She adjusted the oven temperature and checked the roast through the glass door. "Mom?" Benjamin called from the dining room. "I set the table. Can I play a game until dinner?" "Only 15 minutes, Linda answered, glancing at the clock. "Dinner will be ready soon." As Benjamin headed back to the living room, Linda's cell phone rang. Seeing Caroline's name on the screen, Linda smiled. Her best friend lived 3 houses down and had been her support since they moved to the area 5 years ago. "Hey," Linda answered, wedging the phone between her shoulder and ear as she wiped her hands on a dishcloth. "Michael away on business again?" Caroline asked without preamble. Linda rolled her eyes, knowing her friend couldn't see. "Chicago this time. The Anderson account, apparently." Caroline's voice contained a skeptical tone. "Aren't these trips getting more frequent? When was the last time he was home for a full week?" "Caroline," Linda said warningly. "He's working hard for us. The promotion is just around the corner, and then things will settle down." "I'm just saying," Caroline insisted. "It's too much time away from family. Benjamin needs his father around." Linda's throat tightened. "I know that," she said quietly.
"Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home? That's exactly what I did with Reddit Stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious."
Glancing toward the living room where Benjamin was absorbed in his video game. "But this is temporary. Michael loves us. He's just ambitious." After ending the call with a promise of coffee the next morning, Linda stood motionless in the kitchen. Caroline's concerns overlapped with her own unspoken doubts she tried to push away whenever they surfaced. True, Michael's calls had grown shorter. True, he seemed distracted when home, often using fatigue as an excuse. And true, what was once a passionate marriage now felt like 2 people occupying the same space during his brief stays at home. But Linda believed in their family. She believed in Michael. She was startled by the sound of the front door opening. It was Benjamin returning from retrieving the mail from the mailbox at the end of the driveway. "Mom," he called as he entered the kitchen with curiosity in his voice. "What's this?" Linda turned to see her son holding a small plastic cassette tape, the kind used in old video cameras. "Where did you find that?" she asked, wiping her hands on her apron. "It was in my desk at school," Benjamin said, examining the unlabeled tape with puzzlement. "Sarah in my class said her mom wanted you to see it." Linda took the tape from her son's hands, turning it over, feeling a strange uneasiness spread in her stomach. There was no label or writing to indicate what was recorded on it. "Who's Sarah again?" Linda asked, trying to recall the names of Benjamin's classmates. "The new girl," Benjamin explained. "She transferred after Christmas break. She sits next to me in science class." Linda nodded slowly, still staring at the tape. "And her mother wanted me to see this." "That's what Sarah said." Benjamin had already lost interest, checking the oven timer. "Is dinner ready yet?" "I'm starving." "Soon," Linda murmured, slipping the strange tape into her pocket. Something about it unsettled her, though she couldn't explain why. Perhaps it was just a school project or an announcement from the PTA. But throughout the evening as she served dinner, the tape felt heavy in her pocket. After Benjamin went to bed, Linda sat in the living room and took the cassette tape from her pocket. She stared at it, not understanding why this small plastic object caused her such anxiety. Her son had said, "Sarah's mom wanted you to see it," but she didn't know this Sarah or her mother. She had attended PTA meetings and should be familiar with the parents in the class. Why would an unknown woman want to pass her a tape? Linda stood up and descended the stairs to the basement. She tried to remember where the old VCR would be. They hadn't used it much since moving, but it should be stored with other keepsakes she couldn't bring herself to throw away. After digging through stacks of boxes, she finally found the dust-covered VCR. "I wonder if this still works," Linda muttered as she carried it up the stairs. Back in the living room, she examined the ports on the back of the modern television for a while, eventually finding a way to connect the old deck. Plugging it in and pressing the power button, she was surprised when a blue screen lit up. "Thank goodness," Linda sighed with relief. With trembling hands, she inserted the tape into the deck. For a moment, the screen was filled with static. Then, an image appeared. Through the noise and distortion, she could make out the scene of an unfamiliar park. The camera was unsteady. It looked like someone using a camera for the first time. The footage suddenly changed, and Michael appeared. Linda instinctively leaned forward. Recognizing her husband, she felt momentary relief. Perhaps this was just a recording of some company event. But in that moment, her heart froze. Michael was walking hand in hand with a woman Linda had never seen before. The woman was in her early 40s with long brown hair, and when she looked up at Michael, an affectionate smile spread across her face. Linda's stomach sank. "Dad, look," a girl's voice came from the video. The camera moved to capture a girl about 7 or 8 years old running toward swings in the park. Michael broke away from the woman and chased after the girl, beginning to push her on the swing. "Higher, Dad," the girl cheered. "Dad?" Linda whispered to the screen. Her head was spinning, and she felt her chest tighten. The footage continued, showing Michael, the woman, and the girl enjoying a picnic in the park. They laughed, talked, and shared a meal like a family. When the camera focused on the girl's face, Linda studied it carefully. The face looked familiar. It had to be Benjamin's classmate, Sarah. Linda's hands shook, nearly dropping the remote. The word "business trip" began to echo in her head. Chicago, Boston, San Francisco, the cities Michael had claimed to visit flashed through her mind. Were they all lies? The video continued, showing Michael and the woman standing in front of a small suburban house. The woman took out a key and opened the door. Michael put his arm around her waist, and they entered together. Before they went inside, Michael kissed the woman. Linda closed her eyes, suddenly feeling nauseous. Her worst suspicions were confirmed. Michael was having an affair. But more was happening. This girl, Sarah, had called him Dad. This wasn't just an affair. Michael had another family. In the next scene, Michael was talking with the woman in the kitchen. The camera captured them from a distance, recording their conversation. "You need to tell Linda, Mike," the woman said. "This double life has reached its limit. Both Sarah and I are tired of you only being home half the week." "Give me a little more time, Jennifer," Michael said. "I need the right timing." "How long should I wait?" the woman called Jennifer asked. "It's been 5 years, Mike. 5 years of sharing you with her. Sarah deserves a home with a father who's always present." Michael shook his head. "It's complicated, there's Benjamin to consider too." "How do I explain to him?" "Benjamin?" Linda repeated in a trembling voice. She stared at the screen, shaking as she heard her husband speak her son's name. The footage changed, now showing Sarah taking the camera. "Dad and Mom," she said. "I'm recording." Michael and Jennifer smiled and waved at the camera. Then Michael put his arm around Jennifer's shoulder and kissed her cheek. "I love you, Jennifer," he said. The video suddenly changed to show only Jennifer speaking to the camera. Her expression was serious, a mixture of sadness and determination. "Linda, if you're watching this," she addressed the camera directly. "I'm sorry. But I think you deserve to know the truth. Mike has been living a double life for 5 years. He told me about you and about Benjamin. We were just colleagues at first, but he said he was single. After Sarah was born, I discovered he was married." She paused for a moment and took a deep breath. "I moved here with Sarah. To be closer to him. And, to be closer to you. I can't bear this dishonest life anymore. Sarah attends the same school as your son. She needs her father, in her daily life. Mike needs to choose." The screen went dark, and the video ended. Linda collapsed on the sofa, trying to comprehend the horrible reality. Her husband, her child's father, her partner of 10 years, he had been living a double life. Another woman, another child. And now, that woman was trying to contact her directly. The worst part was that Michael had spoken to her just that morning. He had called from Chicago and said, "I love you," as he always did. It had all been lies. Linda took out her cell phone with trembling hands and dialed Michael's number. But before her finger pressed the last digit, she stopped. What would she say? What could she do? Setting the phone down, she stood up. A calm, clear thought seized her. She went to Benjamin's room and gently shook him awake. "Honey, wake up," she said. "Put your coat on. We're going to Aunt Caroline's house." "But, Mom," Benjamin protested, half asleep. "It's bedtime." "Mommy needs to have an important talk," Linda said. "And I can't do it here." Linda put the cassette tape in her bag, took her son's hand, and left the house without a moment's hesitation. At Caroline's house, Linda roused her friend at the doorstep. Caroline opened the door in her nightgown and, seeing Linda's expression, immediately understood something serious had happened. "What's wrong?" Caroline asked, sleepiness instantly replaced by concern. "Can you let Benjamin rest in another room?" Linda's voice was calm, but intense emotions swirled beneath the surface. "I need to talk to you." Caroline nodded without questioning and led the sleepy Benjamin to the guest room. Once he was settled, she returned to the living room and sat beside Linda, who was already on the sofa. "What happened?" Caroline asked again. Linda took the cassette tape from her bag. "Benjamin brought this home from school," Linda explained. "From a classmate named Sarah. Apparently, Sarah's mother wanted me to see it." "Sarah?" Caroline pondered. "The new girl. The one who transferred last month." Linda nodded. "Have you met her mother?" Caroline shook her head. "No, but I've seen her father at school a few times. Tall, brown hair." She suddenly stopped and stared at Linda. Linda, what's... Linda took a deep breath and explained the video's contents to Caroline. With each word she spoke, the reality became more tangible. When she finished her explanation, Caroline's face was red with anger. That despicable man! Caroline exclaimed. 5 years. A double life? With a child. Linda touched Caroline's arm to quiet her. I don't want Benjamin to hear. What will you tell him? Caroline asked, lowering her tone though her anger hadn't subsided. I don't know, Linda answered honestly. I can't think clearly yet. My head is a mess. Caroline hugged Linda. We'll think about it tomorrow. Stay here tonight. Linda was grateful but still had something to do. I want to watch the tape again. I need more information. Playing the tape on Caroline's TV and VCR, Linda could observe the details more calmly. She looked for clues to identify the location of Jennifer's house, examining the view from windows, the exterior of the house, any recognizable landmarks. Wait, stop, Caroline suddenly said. Linda paused the video. Can you see that sign? She pointed to a street sign in the corner of the screen. Maplewood Drive. Linda read. In the Oak Ridge neighborhood. My sister lives near there, Caroline said. It's an upscale suburban development. Recently built. As Linda forwarded through the video, Jennifer's final message played again. This time, she could understand the woman's words more calmly. Linda, Jennifer said. I don't intend to destroy your family with Mike. But Sarah needs a father who is consistently present in her life. I think it's time for Mike to make a choice. If he won't, I will. That's why we moved close to you. To reveal the truth. Then, the camera moved to show Jennifer taking something from Michael's desk. She held up a paper to the camera. This is a copy of Mike's new company ID card. The company he claims to work for as a consultant doesn't exist. He works at Hamilton Technology, the same company as me. We're in the same department. Linda stared at the screen. The ID card indeed showed Michael's photo, with the Hamilton Technology logo and the title, Systems Architect. She was shocked. Michael's company, his job title, his business trips, all had been lies. What are you going to do? Caroline asked quietly. Linda stopped the video and made a decision in her mind. I'll meet him tomorrow. But first, I'll meet Jennifer. Caroline looked surprised. Really? You'll go to her? She told me the truth, Linda said. That took courage. And, she might also be a victim of Michael's lies. At least initially. That night, Linda couldn't sleep. She reflected on 10 years of marriage, analyzing Michael's behavior patterns. The increased business trips began 5 years ago, around the time Sarah was born. When Michael was home, he always kept his phone close and changed his passwords. And whenever she tried to unpack his suitcase, he always insisted on doing it himself. All the signs had been in front of her, but she had refused to see them. She had viewed him through a filter of love and trust. When morning came, Linda woke Benjamin and told him he wouldn't be going to school today. Instead, you'll go to the zoo with Aunt Caroline, Linda said with a smile. She didn't want to hurt her son. It wasn't time for the truth yet. Benjamin was delighted but confused. But why am I not going to school? Mommy has some errands to run, she explained. Grown-up business. Grateful that Caroline would watch her son, Linda got into her car with the cassette tape and the address on Maplewood Drive she had noted. The navigation system guided her to the upscale new development in Oak Ridge. Large houses stood on spacious lawns, with neat rows of trees lining the streets. She found Maplewood Drive and drove down the street looking for the house from the video. And then she found it, a 2-story house with a brown stone front and distinctive round windows. There was no sign of Michael's car in the driveway, but another car was there. Linda took a deep breath and parked at the curb. With trembling legs, she walked to Jennifer's front door, hesitating a moment before pressing the doorbell. The chime sounded, and seconds later, the door opened. The woman from the video stood in the doorway. In person, Jennifer looked even more beautiful, and simultaneously more tired. Her eyes widened with sadness and fear. "Linda?" she asked in a whisper. Linda nodded. "Let's talk," she said, her voice mixing calmness with determination. Jennifer stepped back and invited Linda inside. Strangely, as she entered the house, Linda felt an odd sense of release rather than anger. Knowing the truth had opened a new door. Jennifer's living room was bright and airy. Sunlight streamed through large windows, warming the room. Linda sat on the sofa and placed the cassette tape on the coffee table in front of her. Jennifer sat in the chair opposite, anxiously folding her hands. "I didn't think you'd actually come," Jennifer broke the silence. "I thought you'd watch the tape, but to come in person." "I'm surprised myself," Linda answered honestly. "But this isn't something that can be handled over the phone or email." Jennifer nodded. "Sarah is at school. I haven't told her anything yet." "Same with Benjamin," Linda said. "He's with my friend now." After a heavy silence, Linda spoke. "I want to know everything. From the beginning." Jennifer took a deep breath. "Mike and I met 5 years ago at Hamilton Technology. He had just transferred as a project leader. He was charming, intelligent, and kind," she gave a bitter smile. "And he said he was single." Linda felt pain at those words but kept her expression unchanged. "6 months later, I became pregnant," Jennifer continued. "That's when I finally learned he was married." A colleague casually mentioned Mike's wife. I was shocked. When I confronted him, he denied it at first but eventually admitted it. He said, he was planning to leave you. That your relationship had already grown cold and he was only maintaining appearances for his son. Linda gave a bitter smile. "Typical." "I wanted to believe him," Jennifer said. Tears welled in her eyes. "After Sarah was born, he started saying he needed more time. And 1 year passed, 2 years passed, 5 years have gone by. He always had some excuse, always saying, just a little longer." "So why now?" Linda asked. "Why decide to tell me the truth now?" Jennifer stood up and looked out the window. Sarah started talking about her friends at school. "There's a boy named Benjamin, and he's so funny," she said. "When I saw the class photo she brought home, I was shocked. Looking at Benjamin, I knew he was Mike's child. The same smile, the same eyes." She turned back and looked at Linda. "So I investigated. I found your address, saw how Mike lived with you and your son. And I decided, for the children's sake, this lie had to end." Linda silently nodded. She had expected to feel anger, but instead felt a strange calmness. "When will Mike return?" Linda asked. "This afternoon. He said he was coming back from a business trip," Jennifer answered sarcastically. Linda took her cell phone from her handbag. "Perfect. I'll call him and tell him to come here. Let's confront him together." Jennifer looked surprised. "Together? Why let him manipulate us again?" Linda said. Her voice was calm and resolute. "Just as he lived 2 lives, we don't need to deal with him separately." A small smile appeared on Jennifer's face. "You're much stronger than I thought." "Until yesterday, I didn't think of myself that way either," Linda admitted. Linda called Michael. When he answered, she tried to sound as normal as possible. "Michael, I need you to come home right away. It's an emergency." "What happened? Is Benjamin okay?" Michael's voice contained genuine worry. He's physically fine, Linda answered coldly. But come back quickly. I'm in Oak Ridge. 23 Maplewood Drive. You know this address, don't you? There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. Linda. Michael's voice was trembling. Come within 20 minutes, Linda said and hung up. Those 20 minutes created a strange bond between Linda and Jennifer. They began talking about each other's lives. Linda discovered that Jennifer also worked in graphic design and showed her portfolio. Linda thought that under different circumstances, they might have become friends. They heard a car screech to a halt and looked out the window. They could see Michael running from the parking lot. His face was pale and distraught. The door opened, and Michael entered the living room. His eyes moved from Linda to Jennifer, then back to Linda. What? How? He stammered. Sit down, Linda instructed. Though she tried to control her emotions, her tone was icy cold. Michael silently sat on the sofa. Fear shone in his eyes. I won't give you a chance to explain, Linda said. I don't want to hear excuses. We know the truth. How? Michael asked. Linda pointed to the cassette tape on the table. Thanks to this. You've been living a double life for 5 years. 2 families, 2 homes, 2 lives. And you've been lying to both of us. Michael held his head. It's complicated. Complicated? Jennifer raised her voice. It's chaos that you created. We're all victims of your lies. Especially the children. The children. Michael murmured. What did you tell Benjamin and Sarah? Nothing yet, Linda answered. But we plan to tell them the truth. In an age-appropriate way. They have a right to know. I'm truly sorry, Michael said. His voice was small, tinged with regret. Sorry isn't enough, Linda said calmly. You need to choose now. Me and Benjamin, or Jennifer and Sarah. You can't have both anymore. Michael's expression crumbled. He seemed to finally understand the gravity of his actions. If I have to choose. He began. Wait a minute, Linda interrupted him. Actually, you no longer have a choice. Michael looked confused. What do you mean? I no longer want you as my husband, Linda said. Her voice was unwavering. I will file for divorce. It doesn't matter what you choose. Jennifer stared at Linda, then she too stood up. I feel the same, she said. I can't take this situation anymore. Sarah needs a real father figure. Not a weekend dad. Michael looked at both women, speechless. The castle of lies he had built was crumbling before his eyes. But, he protested weakly. I love the children. I can't bear not seeing them. You can continue to be a father, Linda said. But you're finished as a husband. At least for me. Jennifer also nodded. Do your best to be a father to Sarah. That's all. Michael's shoulders slumped. His eyes were wet with tears. I understand. He murmured. I've ruined everything. You both deserved better than me. 6 months had passed. Linda sat at the kitchen counter, doing a final check on a new design project. Her freelance work had grown dramatically over the past half year, and she was planning to open her own small design studio. Mom, look. Benjamin called from the living room. He pointed to a large science project spread across the floor. Sarah and my solar system model is almost finished. Linda smiled and stood up to look at her son's work. On the sofa, Sarah was carefully painting small planet models. That's wonderful, both of you, Linda praised. The doorbell rang, and when Linda opened it, Jennifer stood there holding a paper bag. I brought extra materials, she said with a smile and headed to the kitchen. How's the children's project coming along? Beautifully, Linda answered. They're working well together. Jennifer started brewing coffee, clearly familiar with the layout of Linda's kitchen. Has Benjamin said anything about Michael's visit this weekend? Linda shook her head. He still doesn't talk much about it. But he seems to be looking forward to it more than last time. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. Michael had moved into a small apartment, keeping a certain distance from both families. He spent weekends with the children, trying to remain part of their growth. It wasn't perfect, but it was the new normal for both families. The most surprising development was the friendship that had formed between Linda and Jennifer. At first, they kept in touch just for the children's sake, but gradually they discovered they had much in common. Similar hobbies, similar sense of humor, and above all, a bond formed by experiencing the same pain. Now, the children visit each other's homes several times a week. Linda and Jennifer occasionally work together and have been discussing a partnership in the design studio Linda is planning. By the way, I reviewed your portfolio, Linda said as she accepted a coffee cup. That technology company project is really impressive. Our studio needs your web design skills. Really? Jennifer's eyes lit up. I'm seriously considering leaving Hamilton Technology to work with you. How about Two Moms Design as a name? Linda jokingly suggested. Jennifer laughed. Not bad. But seriously, do you think this will really work? We've proven it, haven't we? Linda said quietly. That from the worst situation, we can create something wonderful. From the kitchen window, Linda watched Benjamin and Sarah playing in the backyard. The two had developed a sibling-like relationship, now bonded by an unbreakable connection. They occasionally fought, but that was normal for siblings. She still sometimes thought about that cassette tape. It was now tucked away in her desk drawer. It had destroyed her life while simultaneously opening a new path. It seems we've created our own family, Linda murmured. Jennifer looked out the window, listening to the children's laughter. Yes. Blood ties aren't the only thing that defines family. The two women raised their coffee cups in a small toast. Michael had certainly changed their lives forever, but they were shaping that change with their own strength. It was a path that began with lies and betrayal, but led to truth, strength, and unexpected friendship.